Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday to all of you. Oh, just a second. Okay, lost my feet for a second. Happy Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy Memorial Day weekend as well. I forgot to mention that on Friday or on yesterday's video. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope that you all have a great weekend this weekend celebrating Memorial's Day. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Memorial's Day today. But first, let's go ahead and say hello to all of you. Now, I did round up a bunch of questions from our last live stream that I'm going to be doing a short video on, trying to answer them because I missed quite a few. And Tonette, I see you there, Tonette. Say hello to the hubby. And I did pull out the question that you had on that live stream, so I'll be doing a video on that because it was a very good question, and amongst other ones. So what I'll do is I'll do a compilation of any questions that I missed on today's live stream with our last live stream, and probably put it up tomorrow or Tuesday. We'll see. But let's say hello to Jan. Hello, Jan. How are you? Tom Larson. Copernicus is here. Kim's Rural Life. Let's see. JT is in the house. Hello, JT. Karen. How you doing, Karen? Steve is here. How you doing today, Steve? And as always, this thing is jumping around on me. It doesn't like me for some reason lately. Sean in Alaska is here. How you doing, Sean? Good to see you. Hope you're having as nice weather where you're at that I'm having here where I'm at. It's beautiful day today. Very nice and sunny. Rafter Stacker is here. Thomas from Austria. How you doing, Thomas? It's very good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining in. How you doing, Rifleman? The 49 State is here. Let's see. Trudy J, how you doing? Ali is here. Thea Ham. I'm getting a number 1 from Miss Worm. Thank you, Copernicus. That's good. Sandra, hello. QUSMC is here. And it just jumped on me, so I don't know if you had a question or not. Yes, indeed. Indeed. We always have to remember, Q. We always have to remember. We can't forget these things because, I don't know, we can't forget these things as hard as they are to remember and to reflect on, because it's that pain that we've experienced throughout our history that allow us not to make those same mistakes over again. Unfortunately, humanity is very, very good at forgetting, and it seems that we do it quite often. Hello, Uncle Charlie, Grateful 67, Scott, Tracy Bailey, Jennifer, Peter, Yarn Prepper made it. Hello, Yarn Prepper. Eins Simic from Croatia. Isn't that something? Welcome all the way from Croatia, Eins. Laura Williams, Who's Your Mom? Tracy, Evil Girl is here, UK Canner. Cindy Wilkinson, Linda Elliott, KC, the other one. Chelsea is here. I hope you're feeling better today, Chelsea. Let's see. Chelsea says that she is slowly getting better each day. Awesome. Well, hope you're feeling better, and I'm glad to hear that. Chicken Prepper, Anne-Marie, hello. Mary Monk. If you all see me pause for a little bit when I'm saying hello, it's because the chat skipped on me, and I'm just scrolling up a little bit to try to catch everyone that got skipped by me, but I'm sure I can't catch you all. Okay, here we are. Mary Monk, Lori Johnson. Let's see, Steve, Teresa, Linda, Kim's Rural Life. Oh, Jan, yours is jumping as well. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, Lisa Brooks, Forrest. Black Girl Thing 96. How are you doing? Black Girl Thing 96 is new to the AP community, so let's all welcome Black Girl Thing, or Black Girl Ting 96. Welcome. Very nice to have you. Deborah Ramirez is here. How you doing? Asahi, all the way from Australia. How you doing? Alicia, greetings to you as well. Eric Hoffner is in the house. How you doing, Eric? Lucille, Lori, Holly, retired Reyes is in the house. Erha Koivula. I believe that's how you would pronounce it, but I probably murdered that. Debbie, Jack Bird. How you doing, Jack Bird? Carol, Valerie, hello, all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. Valerie H. Hurley, Julie Atkins is here from Alabama. Stephanie. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, that last video was, I think the last video that I put up was the least edited video that I've ever put up. Thank you for that, Steve. Ann MC, how are you? MG in the D. Network name, all the way from Germany. How are you doing? I'm sure I'm butchering your name, but Network, how are you? Welcome. Bones is here. Ann Lease, good morning to you. Angry Homesteader, good morning. Brian Barbie. Teresa S is here. Trudy J. My chat's just jumped, so I'm just going to go with it. Loida Colombe. Brent Winfield is in the house. How you doing, Brent? Brent is out there doing some fencing. Marjorie is here. Gusho. So I'm going to put up a video, I think maybe tonight or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, of me building my new fuel shed. And it came out really good, all right? I haven't moved my fuel to it or anything like that because I have to do some reinforcement of the actual building. But I'll probably put that up. That way you all see where it's going to go and what I'm going to be using, because it actually came out pretty good, better than what I thought it would. Let's see. How you doing, Blue? Overland Gear Guy, Tom Larson. The one whom Jesus loves. Hello, happy Sunday to you. Brett Henderson, Christy. The Awakening of Patriot Survival, Stephen or Stefan Udicino. How are you doing? KV, Jeremiah Mathis is in the house. Linda B. Well, let's see. Kevin Grip made it. How you doing, Kevin? The Jewish Redneck Prepper. That's a good. Jeff Riffle, how you doing? Tommy Bites is in the house. How you doing, Tommy Bites? Say hello to the hubby. Gail Gorton, Hurdling for the Homestead is here. Well, let's see. Jay Tharp. Hello, Jay. Who is that? Grace. How you doing, Grace? Montana Living is here. Sweet Savory Words. Hello. Salty Blank Zero. Alex the Gamer is here. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to cover a couple of things, okay? I think I forgot where it came up, but somebody said, I think it was on our last live stream, I think. I don't remember. I never remember past one day or so. But someone says something like, man, AP has got so much money that he's just got $100 bills laying around. Because I went like this and I said something about, look at this. What is this? Well, just so as you know, that these are Hollywood dollars. Someone sent me a whole bunch of Hollywood dollars so that I can use them for dramatic effect. And I remember using these. I had a meeting here this week, and I was talking to someone about the dollar and all that stuff. And I remember doing that, and their eyes just popped wide open. It was like, what are you doing? But yeah, these are Hollywood dollars. Even though I think that this is junk, it still buys stuff. So I would never do that. I would give it away before I did that to a real $100 bill. And another thing, I wanted to cover a small mail call that I got. Well, it's not really a small mail call, but I wanted to cover a mail call that I got here sometime this last week of Mr. Ron Foster, who is our community author, sent me 3 books. And look at this, Sharecropping for the Apocalypse. I haven't read them, but they look like really good books. The Bug Out Gardening Guide. And I do believe that every one of these books that I'm showing you, they're on Amazon. So I know a lot of people have been talking about, we need to get, paper copies to make sure that we have them. That way, if something happens to the internet or something like that, that we have them. And here is just a novel, The Work of the Dead. So if you like this kind of stuff, if you like this kind of reading, go check it out. He's got them all on Amazon. And like I said, his name is Ron Foster, and he has a whole bunch more books than just these. So thank you, Ron, if you are watching. I also wanted to show you something funny that someone sent me. Someone sent me this thank you card, okay, with a sticker inside. And I just wanted to show you what the sticker says. I think I'm going to have to put this up somewhere here. I wanted to put it up somewhere where you can see it, but look at what it says. It's funny. It says, Save America, defund the politicians. So thank you very much to the person that sent me this. Now, I did receive an email, I believe it was yesterday, or I read it yesterday. Someone told me that they had sent me some things for Victor and the baby, for Victor and Brenna and the baby, but I haven't been to the post office in probably like a week or so. So we'll probably end up going to the post office tomorrow on Monday. Well, not tomorrow, they'll be closed, but probably on Tuesday, and see what we have in there, and then I will show it to you all. That way you know I received it. All right, so thank you for all of that. Another thing, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, is this is very serious in my opinion. I received a message and I felt really bad about this. It almost made me want to shut down my Patreon and club members because someone sent an email that went something like this. I'll paraphrase it. You know, I've been supporting you for a while, and I really enjoy supporting you because, you know, they like the community and they like the way the channel is. Anyways, they were a Patreon, and they said, I wanted you to know that I had to stop because I just can't afford it. And I was like, oh my goodness, man, you know, I never even thought about that during these times that we're going through with the prices of everything going up the way it is. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't, if you are supporting me on Patreon or a club member and you need to stop, first of all, if you're not prepped, you shouldn't be there. All right. If you're not like prepped up, if you don't go in your pantry and like, yeah, I'm good, you know, I got all the stuff that I need, you know, you shouldn't be there. Right. And I obviously I'm not going to take it personal. And even if I did, what would it matter? You know, first of all, I won't. But even if I did, what would it matter? You know, if you're not fully prepped, you really shouldn't be there. And I wouldn't take it personal, and I wouldn't be upset or none of that kind of stuff. You know, if you had to stop, you know, being a Patreon or a club member, make sure that you take care of yourselves first. That's the most important thing that there is, period, is for you to take care of yourselves first. So if you have to unsubscribe from any one of those, go ahead and do it. It's not that big of a deal, right? Trust me, it's not that big of a deal, right? The Lord's been good. I've been blessed. We've all been blessed. And if you need to unsubscribe from that, by all means, do it. Take care of yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because like I said, you can count on yourselves, your families. Hopefully you can count on your church, and then at worst case scenario, your community. But you should always make sure that before you try to take care of others, that you've taken care of yourself first. All right. So thank you very much for your support. And just understand that if you're not fully prepped, then you really shouldn't be on any of those two platforms. Right. So thank you. I hope that you understand what I'm trying to get at. Not that I don't appreciate it, but that I want to make sure you take care of yourselves first. Let's say hello to a few more of you that just jumped in here. And then we'll go to what I wanted to show you for today. And then we'll just have a little back and forth. And I do have a lot of stuff to do today. So I'm going to actually try to keep this to about an hour or so today. All right. So hello, Morte. How are you doing? Have a great day is here. How you doing? Let's see. Passamacati. How are you doing? Danine Doan. How are you? Everybody likes the sticker. The Reality by Jay Rocco. How are you doing? Good to have you here today. All right, you're gardening while you're listening. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining in. Yanni, how you doing, Yanni? Sam Dix from the UK. Good to have you. Amarna, how are you? Sophie. Hello, Gail. Deb Smith, aloha, all the way from Hawaii. Hello, Tammy Smith. How are you doing? Julius Newman, how are you? Good to see you. Oh, look at this. Rather stacked. Congratulations on paying off your house and being debt free. That is awesome. Congratulations. That is awesome. Every time that you pay off debt, ladies and gentlemen, you destroy this. Every time that you pay off debt, you destroy fiat currency. We can stick it to the banks by paying off our debt and not getting into any more debt. Melissa C, hello. Brian Barbie, how are you doing? Hello, Yanni. Yanni, hello, how are you? Oh, and thank you for that. Yeah, that was a real, every time we do a donation to the food bank, that's always a really fun video. It's not as fun while I'm lifting the stuff and putting it in my truck because I was on my own that day. But it's always worth it. Very fun. I hope that you guys enjoyed that video. Sandra Rice, how are you doing? Who's in charge? Henry Herman, Trump won. Donna Kowalski, how are you? Wink Tartanbell. I always mess up that last name. Steve Story, hello. M. Houston, welcome. Shauna. Thomas the Fam is in the house. How you doing, Thomas? Bayou Preppers, welcome. Sue Giles, Lance. Let me see who else we have here. Hello, Lisa. Michael Danks, how are you? Michael Danks says, the Idaho Mike says, blessings to you and yours from North Idaho. Thank you. Many blessings to you and yours as well, Michael. Blessings are always encouraged and very, very willingly accepted. Let's see, who else? All right, so ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to show you something really quick, and then we'll go back and forth. And if when I'm done with my very short presentation, all right, which is what I'm going to have for you today, we can go back and forth. And if you have questions, put either the word question or the letter Q with a question mark before your question, all in caps. That way it's more of a likelihood that I catch it if you have it all in caps with that question in front of it. And or if you have something that you want to share with the community. All right. So Jim Hale, is Russian ruble still pegged to gold? Not necessarily. No, it's not. It's not pegged to gold. That was something that that Putin was considering, and it can still be done. The way that he was doing it is a little bit complicated. The way that he was doing it, but right now, what I think that he understands is, and trust me, I'm nowhere near as smart as these ex-KGB guys. This guy, you know, you have to be a statistician, pretty much, to get to that level. But what I think that he's doing now is he realizes that a lot of the world needs what Russia produces. That's why if you watch my last video, if you see that video, the case that I was making is that China and Russia, they're going to get away with whatever they want to get away with, especially China. So if China wants to take Taiwan, they're going to take Taiwan, and there ain't nothing that we're going to do. And if we do something, then we will fail. And let me tell you why. Not because I don't love my country. All right. You all know that I love my country. I truly do. My countrymen, not the government. It's because what do we make in the United States that can allow us to get through a war if we're not getting things from other countries? We import almost everything. And when I say we import almost everything, even if it's made in the US, most times the parts that are needed for those things that we actually do make here come from other countries. So let's say that China takes Taiwan, and then let's say that we get into a war with China. How are we going to produce the war materials that we need? How are we going to produce the tanks? How are we going to produce the munitions? How are we going to produce all the equipment for the military when a lot of the strategic metals, or, you know, the special type metals that we need, we don't even mine them here? Even though we have the ability to mine those things here, we don't mine them. Why? Because in my opinion, the government is trying to destroy the United States from within. That's my opinion. But we don't even mine those things here. And even if we went and started a war and said, okay, we're going to start mining everything here right now, it's going to take a long time before we can actually produce from those mines. You don't just start mining something and start producing the next day. Even if the United States right now said, okay, we're going to start, we're going to become energy independent again. We're going to start drilling for ourselves here, everything we need. There's still going to be a lead time to that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what do we make in the United States that can support us with the resources that we need to fight a drawn out war? Because that's what it would be. If we went to war with China over anything, be it over Taiwan or be it over the waters that, in the Pacific that they want to say is theirs, whatever. If we went to war with them, where are we going to get the resources that we need? to be able to fight that war when we import almost everything. And even now, we are running low on munitions for ourselves because we're shipping it away. So we're not doing anything as far as that goes. I think that if China wants to take Taiwan, they're going to take it. And that's just the fact of the matter. And what are we going to do? And if we do something, then if the government does engage us in a war, we will be sending a lot of our people, a lot of our servicemen, servicewomen to their deaths. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all there's to it. That war creates nothing but sorrow, pure and simple. We could have worked ourselves out of the mess that we are in now with what's going on in Russia by doing it the right way, right? I mean, we can get into the history of all that stuff, but that's not what this live stream is about today. We can get into the history of why, that Russia invade Ukraine and what NATO was doing to instigate Russia to that. We can do all that, but like I said, that's not what this live stream is about. But Putin has realized that most of the world needs the stuff that they make. They make a lot of stuff in Russia. Look at how many. I've seen so many posts on different live streams, on comments from different videos and stuff of people saying, man, I sure wish that we can still get that cheap Russian ammo, right? I think that about 40% of the ammo that we imported into the United States was from Russia. And that's just one thing. That's just one thing. And I'm sure that the government is very happy to have those imports stop coming in. But all of these other countries that depend on Russia, especially for their sustenance in the form of wheat, or their energy in the form of natural gas or oil, they're having to make a decision. Do we let our people starve by following the sanctions that the United States had set forth and the European nations have set forth on Russia? Do we let our people starve? Or do we bypass those sanctions and do bilateral trading with Russia one-on-one? Well, I mean, that's an easy question to answer. More than likely, I would say that countries are not willing to let their people starve. So Russia has found out that what they produce has value. What's the only thing that we here in the United States produce that has any real value to the rest of the world? We produce a little bit of excess food, that we send to China, but I think we send that food to China because we don't have a choice. If China says send us food, we're going to send them food, especially with the administration that we have now. If China says jump, they're going to jump. Right. And everything that I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, is my opinion. Right. This is my opinion. And of course, you can disagree if you like to disagree. That's actually a good thing. If, that's how you have conversation and create a dialogue. It's not by agreeing with everything that everyone has to say. But what are we going to do if that happens? Russia knows what's going on. They know that the world has proven to Russia that they need them more than what they need us. Think about that. The world has proven to Russia through these sanctions that we put forth that they need Russia more than they need us. Because the only thing that we really produce that we can export en masse is inflation, our dollars. It's the only thing that we really produce. Think about it. Give me a second. I've got something in my eye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So once that dollar is no longer sought after at the level that it is, and it's been dropping every year, it's under 60% now. I think it's at like 57, 58%, where just a couple of years ago it was over 60%, which 1% drop in the use of the dollar worldwide is a huge drop. People may look at it and say, oh, it's only 1%. That is a huge drop. But just in the last couple of years, it's gone down like 3 or 4%. It's a huge drop. So what's going to happen when countries realize that they can do bilateral trading with Russia, bypassing the US dollar, and the US dollar is no longer needed at the level that it is now? Because one of the reasons that the US dollar is needed is because it is required to be used via the SWIFT system in order to do international trade with countries, from country to country. Well, countries are now starting to bypass that SWIFT system and doing bilateral trades, going to Russia and saying, I'll give you flip-flops for some grain, or I'll give you some sugar for that corn, or I'll give you my currency for what you're selling, and then you can use the currency that I gave you from my country to buy stuff from my country, because we also produce stuff. What's going to happen when most countries start doing that, bypassing the dollar? I'll tell you right now what's going to happen. If they don't need the dollar, where's the dollar going to go? It's going to go to its home. It's going to go to its place of birth, which is right here in the United States. And what's going to happen when that happens? It's called inflation. Things are going to continue to go up. So in addition to all of the inflation that the government has created in the last couple of years, that still has not hit the economy, right? The inflation that we're seeing now, that's probably the stimulus from like the first stimulus that they passed. That's the inflation we're seeing now. It takes 6 months to 18 months for inflation to actually hit the economy once it's created. So that stimulus check, the first one that we saw, that's probably the inflation that we've been going through now. You got to remember that between then and today, they've printed an additional, $11 trillion or so. Once that inflation starts hitting the economy, things are going to get a lot more expensive. And once countries stop using the dollar en masse, and there's a drop in the usage of the dollar, it's going to come home, and inflation is going to go up even higher. And eventually, ladies and gentlemen, the dollar will fail, okay? Eventually. I talked about that in that last video. It's a lot more than that, so go check that out. But I forgot what got me talking about that. Somebody asked a question. Hello, Laura. How are you? John Mack? Yeah, I think so, because the face is the opposite way, isn't it, John? So let me just go ahead and show you something real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Being that this is Memorial Day weekend, I went ahead and just looked something up very easily. You can look it up very easily, just to remind people that watch this, that decide to watch this video, what it is that Memorial Day weekend is, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we celebrate those that came before us and laid down their lives in order to pave the world, to pave the way for a country to be a better country. We celebrate them. We don't mourn them. We celebrate them, that they actually are part of why this country is as great as it is. And I want to throw this out there before I even start, because there's always people out there that want to look and only look at the negative. All right. And some people are going to say, well, those people knew what they were signing up for when they went to fight. You know, all wars are bankers' wars. And I agree with that. All wars are bankers' wars. But these people volunteered. They knew what they were signing up for. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that may be all true. But I would say that most people that are in the military today probably don't know what they signed up for. They knew they were joining the military of their country. Right? But they don't really know. For goodness gracious, it took me till I was like in my late 30s to wake up to the way of the world. All right. It took me till I was like in my late 30s to wake up to the way of the world. So when I hear people say, well, yeah, he died, you know, in war, he died overseas, but he knew what he was getting himself into. Most of the time, that's not a fact. You know, most of the time, that's not true. Most of the time, someone that's completely awake doesn't go into the military thinking that they're getting in it or doing stuff for other reasons. Most of the time, it takes people a while to wake up. I think that, and I think this, I don't know this for a fact, but I think that it takes the average person quite a while to wake up to the way of the world, right? Because think about this. When you're young and you're going through life and you still haven't even gotten out of high school, you're still very naive as to the way of the world. You had a mother and a father that provided you with everything that you needed. If you're lucky, you had a mother and a father that, you know, taught you good work ethic, and you understand that not everything, or that nothing is for free, right? That you have to work for it. But most people nowadays, they take a long time to wake up. And I don't blame our service members one bit for what they're doing as far as going overseas, because they are doing what is a non-political fight. They're not going over there to fight politics. They're going over there because they truly believe that they are serving their countries. Whereas when we get older, we understand what it is that they're truly serving. But they truly believe in their heart that they are serving their country. And for that, we ought to celebrate them, because they were doing it in their hearts for us even though they were bamboozled by a government that likes to send its young to war in order to profit off of their deaths, dismemberments, and many times they come back crazy because they've lost their minds. And that's just the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not try to candy coat it. Our government knows exactly what it's doing. They know exactly what they're doing when they send our kids to war so that they can die. And the thing is that most of the time, our kids don't know what the government knows. They don't know that they're sending them there to make the military-industrial complex rich and to keep them rich. They don't know this. They go there because they are taught from a young age that one of the most noble things you can do is to serve your country. But nobody teaches them the difference between serving your countrymen and serving your government, which is a government that has turned into a government, for profit, instead of a government for the people and by the people. So I wanted to show you that even though we're going through some tough times here in the United States, in my opinion, we are still the greatest nation that the world has ever produced. And that's because of the people. That's because of the freedom that is ingrained in our DNA. That's why I believe that, not because of the government. But I want to show you here all of the people that came before us that gave their lives. And I want you to notice something as I'm going through this, I'm not going to call it a presentation or slide. This here is the total number of people. All right, let me see if I can bring this over a little bit so that it's not all messed up. There you go. This here is the total number of Americans that have given up their lives, all the way from before America was even America, all the way from the American Revolution, right? And I want you to notice two things. Of course, the number of combat deaths and also total deaths, but also look at the number of engagements that the United States has been in since 1775. All right, I'm just going to go up there I'm not going to name them all. It's too many. Look at the number of engagements. War of 1812, we lost 2,200, and a total of 15,000 is a combined deaths from actual combat, and then from other things like disease, things like that. Now, these numbers represent Americans, okay? These numbers represent Americans that gave their lives. The Civil War, of course, was our costliest war ever because it was Americans fighting Americans. And although some of these don't really have a lot of casualty and deaths, just take a look at how many engagements. And we're not even in the 1900s yet. We just now entered into the 1900s. And there's World War I with a total of 116.5 thousand deaths. There's the Vietnam War with 58,000 deaths, which we now know for a fact that the Vietnam War was construed on a lie, on an outright lie that our government knew about, but still sent our young men and women to die in a foreign land so that they can have their war. And they don't teach this in school, ladies and gentlemen. They don't teach these children that the Vietnam War, that the reason we lost 58,000 men in the Vietnam War is because the government lied to the American people. They don't teach that in school. So if we don't teach it, then how in the world are our children going to know it? If we don't teach it, how's that kid that's just about to join the Marines because he thinks that it's gung-ho to go to war, how's he going to know that the government lied to the American people just so that they can have their war? Just like they are doing right now. They're going to get us into a war. I'm pretty much convinced of this. They're going to get us into a war, and it's going to be terrible. It's going to be a terrible thing. And trust me, today is a day, this weekend, Memorial Day weekend, like I said, in my opinion, it's a time to celebrate, to actually celebrate those who came before us and gave their lives, to celebrate them. But we have to talk about this. If we don't talk about this, then how the heck are our kids going to know? Because the government's not going to teach them. The school is the government. They're not going to teach them. So we have to teach them this, ladies and gentlemen. And look at this, 1965. They even went into Dominican Republic. That's actually why my father immigrated to the United States. It was around 1965, 1966, I think, that he immigrated to the United States. Him and my mother and my brothers, all of them immigrated here to the U.S. Is because in the Dominican Republic, they were having like a civil war of type or a revolution of type where they took out a dictator, Trujillo, I believe was his name. That was a dictator there. And it goes on, ladies and gentlemen. The list goes on. And a total of, for combat deaths and all other deaths, is a total of 1,354,664 deaths in total. And that only takes it all the way to 2019. Okay. And it's important to me that you take a look at this number, right? Take a look at this number, 1.3 million, let's say. All right. Let's say 1.4 million. Let me go ahead and get out of here. Why is that number important? 1.4 million altogether. At least this is what's documented, at least, ladies and gentlemen. But altogether, we've got 1.4 million Americans who lost their lives in all of the wars and or engagements that we have been involved in since the birth of our nation. When I look at that number, I ask myself, 1.4 million in World War II alone. All right, ladies and gentlemen, think about this. Think about this when our government is trying to get us into war with Russia. And then I'll talk about a different number with China. In World War II alone, Russia lost over 25 million people fighting Germany. Just in one war. Is that a country that we want to go to war with? Ask yourselves that. Before you send your kids off to war, ask yourselves that. Is that a country? Because you have to understand that ever since after the Vietnam War, right? After the Vietnam War, every single war that we've been in have been JAV wars, have been wars with countries that don't have nearly the capability that we have. And still, we had to pull out of Afghanistan with our tail between our legs, of course, because of the administration's decisions, but neither that's neither here nor there. All right, we've been fighting JAV wars since after Vietnam, and we've gotten nothing out of any of those. Do you think that Russia is really the country that we want to go to war with? A country that absorbed more than 25 million deaths in just one war, fighting just one other country, and they're still here, and they are still here. Well, technically, it wasn't Russia, it was the Soviet Union, but you all know what I mean, all right? They still have their heritage, all right? They still have that ethnicity that they had during those times. And then another question that I would have is this: China. Is China really a country that we want to go to war with? And the reason I'm saying this, ladies and gentlemen, is because we influence our children. We talk to our children. We influence them. Let me ask you this. Do you remember under the dictate of Mao, Chairman Mao, where their government at that time, I think it was, man, I forget the darn dates. I'm so terrible. I've gone through these dates so many times, but I forget them. But it was in the mid to early 1900s, I believe, where over 30 million Chinese died of starvation in China under Chairman Mao. And they died of starvation because they did exactly what their government told them to do. They told them to take all of their farming equipment, anything that was made out of steel, and melt it down because the government needed steel. And they did it. At the same time, pretty much taking their own lives because they were destroying those same tools that they needed in order to grow food. So they ended up starving. Do you think that a government that tells its people to do something and it knows it's going to cost tens of millions of deaths and the people do it, is that a government that you really want to go and fight against when you know that the people there will willingly and blindly follow instructions and go fight to their deaths without even thinking about it? Is that a government that we want to go fight? And for what? For what? What did we get out of Afghanistan? What did we get out of? I know that to the winner goes the spoils, right? Or to the victor goes the spoils. And that may not be a moral concept, but it is true in war. In war, to the victor goes the spoils. But for all of the deaths, for all of the treasure that we lost in Afghanistan, in Iraq, what did we get from anything, from any of that? And yet here we are thinking about, maybe, I mean, we're already at war with Russia. It's just a proxy war, but now we're stealing their oil. Now we're stopping tankers that have, Russian oil and stealing their oil, or Iranian oil that's going to Russia. I forgot which one it is, but I read the article, I think it was yesterday. But now we're actually stealing from them. We keep doing things to instigate them so that they can do something, so that our government can justify that we go to war. That is what we're doing. And when I say we, I mean the government. That is what we're doing. We continue to do things to try to get them to get us into a war. But still, we'll be okay. Most of Americans who are blind, most of Americans who live in a normalcy bias, who think that the government is great, that's going to take care of them, most of them will more than willingly send their children to die so that these bankers, so that these political guys, political officials, politicians, so that the industrial complex, the military industrial complex, so that banks can continue to get wealthy off of the backs of the American people and the deaths of their children. And then on top of that, they'll keep control over the people. Ladies and gentlemen, if we don't wake up to what it is that these people do, to what it is that they plan behind closed doors, we will always be slaves. We will always be slaves. And the day that we finally do wake up, it'll have gone so far that the amount of destruction that it will take for us to turn the system into a just system once again will be so great that we may not even be able to bear that amount of destruction. And it all starts with us talking to our children and making sure that they understand exactly what it is that they're doing. I believe that we need good people in the military, but they have to be good people. And the only way that they can be good people in the military is if they are groomed by you, the parents, the fathers and the mothers, by telling them exactly what it is that we do. That way they can go in there with open eyes and understand exactly what's going on, and hopefully understand what it is to say no to an unlawful order. Because one day I believe that when things get bad enough, the government will use the military against the people. Well, the more good people we have in the military that are awake, that understand what's going on, the more that there are, the better for us. Because one of the most beautiful things that I've seen since I was in the military is actually a soldier that had read the Constitution, because 99% of them never had. Someone who actually was able to talk to me one-on-one about the Constitution. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my spiel. All right, that is my spiel. Don't forget the people that came before us, that paved the way so that we can have the greatest nation on earth. And on top of that, make sure that you remember why it is that they gave their lives. Why it is that they gave their lives, because they were lied to. They were lied to by our government, right? And also remember what cost. At what cost are we willing to tell Russia what to do? At what cost are we willing to tell China what to do? And remember the cost that they were willing to give up in order to get what they wanted in the past, which was a cost that was more than 20-fold what we've paid in lives over the entire history of the United States. And if that's what you want, I have a feeling that we're going to get it, because I have a feeling that if this government stays in charge, that we will have a war. And it is our children that will pay with their lives, and we will pay with our liberties. And that's all I have to say. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Kathleen. The Constitution should be mandatory reading for all citizens, every one of them. And it should be mandatory reading for anyone that wants to get naturalized as a citizen of the United States. I still remember my naturalization test. I think it was back in the early 90s, because I didn't become a naturalized citizen to the United States until I was like in my very early 20s. I kept trying to do it while I was in the military, but we kept moving around so much that I could never stay in one place long enough to actually make my appointments. So soon after I got out of the military, I got naturalized and became an American citizen. But we didn't even have anything about the Constitution. I remember it. You know, they did ask you questions like, who is the first president of the United States of America? You know, George Washington, which in all actuality, if you read deep into history, there were temporary presidents before George Washington was president. So they don't talk about that in school either. But absolutely, I believe that it should be mandatory for everyone. Because, I mean, if you don't know the law, then how in the world do you know your rights if you don't know the law? Let's see. Jay Tharp. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, AP, for thank you. Thank you. Okay. Rafter Stacker, how you doing? All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have anything to share, if you have any questions, put it all in caps. All right, what do we got? We got like 15 minutes, all right? I talked to her, I think it was yesterday morning. She's doing better, but she still needs to get better. But it's not like she's not on her, you know, knock on wood, she's not on her deathbed. She's just a little bit ill, and she just needs to take care of herself for a little bit. But she's doing well. She's doing, you know, she's getting better, but slowly, all right? Well, you know, MG, it's something that ought to be taught at schools, but it's like I said, if it's not taught at the schools, I think that we ought to take it upon ourselves to teach it to our children. You know, and if they don't want to read it, then have discussions with them about it. You know, like every once in a while, you know, I'll bring up the First or Second or Third or Fourth or Fifth Amendment, which I'm very familiar with. The 6th through 10th. I know that the 9th is states' rights, I believe it is. No, the 9th is individual, and then the 10th is states. You know, that any law that is not law, that, you know, you can't force it onto an individual just because you're the federal government. Something like that, the 9th and the 10th. But I'll bring it up and I'll talk about it with little Miss Alaska Prepper on the way to school. You know, Victor's pretty much read the whole thing. He could probably tell me more about it than what I know as far as that. But bring it up. If you don't want to sit there and say, yeah, let's read this together, then just bring it up. Bring one up at a time and talk about it every once in a while. It doesn't have to be something that you force on anyone, but just bring it up into casual conversation. I like to do those kinds of things whenever I take little Miss Alaska Prepper to school. So that's when I bring those things up and we talk about it for a few minutes, you know, and it's a good time. And she remembers that because I try to make it funny. Let's see. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Zoe. All of the civilians. I mean, you're talking about probably multiply the numbers by 2 or 3, and that's how many civilians. Collateral damage, they call it in the military. Yeah. How you doing, Me Too? Alberta Prepper, I don't know what you're asking. What do you think that change? I have no idea what you're talking about. If you want to reword it. Yeah, you're on Prepper. I'm getting my dirt tomorrow. And they're going in. I am I think as long as I get them in before the end of the first week of June, I'll be fine. It'll give me about 3.5, 4 months, because you got all of June, July, August, and usually September we don't get any freezing weather in September, so we should be all right. So I think we'll be all right as long as we get them in there before the end of the first week of August. Well, Bob Joan, it depends. It depends. If we go nuclear, then it'll be over very soon. You know, if we go nuclear, it'll be over very soon, because I mean, even if we go nuclear, I can't really see boots on ground. You know, if we go nuclear, I can't see that, because it'll just be devastation throughout the entire world. But I don't know. I've never been in a nuclear war. You know, all we can talk about is studying what happened in Hiroshima and in Nagasaki. But when you think about it, there were people on ground there not long after those bombs dropped there. And a lot of people didn't know about the radiation then and ended up passing away with cancers several years later. But, you know, I don't know. It's something that I really cannot talk about. I'm just not educated in that enough or knowledgeable about that enough. But I think that if it's a nuclear war, it'll be over really quick. There's just going to be a whole bunch of death and a lot of suffering afterwards. So I don't know how long it will last. Maybe 10 minutes, you know? Well, Alberta, I think it's just called conditioning. You know, it's just conditioning over the years. You know, it's doing something that you shouldn't be doing under the guise of doing good. Like, for example, I'll bring up FDR, because everyone thinks that Franklin Delano Roosevelt is Delano or something like that. Roosevelt, FDR. Everyone thinks he's such a great president. But in all honesty, you know, he started us down a road, down a path, you know, in more ways than one. He started us down a path that finds us where we are now. He's the one that actually started the social programs with Social Security, which was supposed to be temporary to help the elderly, right? But he started doing it the wrong way. He started it by borrowing money. And you know that the borrower, you know, is a slave to the lender. So that's why I've always said, if a government is going to have a good foundation, it has to have a good moral foundation, which is great that the government wanted to help the people. That's great. But the way that they did it was not great, by borrowing money and knowing that that borrowed money could never, ever be paid back. That was bad. So he started us down this path with borrowing a whole bunch of money to do this and do that and all that kind of stuff. All right. And then after that, taking us into a war. And then between that and taking us into a war, stealing the people's real money, exchanging it to them with fake money, and giving the real money to the Federal Reserve, i.e. the real money, meaning the gold. You know, it's just been a very long and progressive, you know, indoctrination into where we are now. It's what it's been. So now people think, the average person, if you ask them, is it the government's job to look after your welfare? I would say that most people in the street would say, yes, absolutely. It's the government's job to make sure that I'm okay. When in fact, it's the exact opposite. Because what people don't understand, for the most part, is that whatever the government gives you, number one, it had to take from someone else to give it to you. And number two, whatever the government gives you, it can decide to take back or take it away at any time. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not freedom. That's not freedom. Oh, man, I'm getting bouncies here. Let me see. Amana, is it true that the Russian ruble is stronger than the US dollar right now? I know that it's gained strength. No, it's not stronger than the US dollar. No, it's not, because the Russian ruble, I think I checked it yesterday. When I was recording that video that I put out yesterday, I think because I mentioned the Russian ruble on there. When I was recording that video, I mentioned that it was at like 56 to 1 or something like that. And then I checked it again last night, and I think it's at like 60 to 1 now. So no, the Russian ruble is not stronger than the US dollar for the mere fact that it's at 60 to 1, which means that it takes 60 Russian rubles to buy 1 US dollar. So if it was the other way around, if it took 2 US dollars to buy 1 Russian ruble, then yes, the Russian ruble will be stronger than the US dollar. But no, it's not stronger. But the definition of stronger is different when we're talking about currencies. All right. So, how much can the dollar really buy you? What can the dollar really buy you? Has the purchasing power of the dollar for you, the people that use it here in the US, has it been going up or down? It's been going down, even though the value of the dollar as traded internationally has been going up a little bit. You see, so what really matters is what can your dollars buy you? That's what really matters in the end. And what really matters outside of our borders is who is using the dollar and how much of it is being used. Because in order for our dollar to remain strong throughout the world, it has to be used by other countries for their trading. But I see that going away. I see that going away. And that is one of the things that gives our dollar value, is that it is needed in other countries' coffers in order so that they can trade with one another. Once they don't need the dollar to trade with one another, once they only need the dollars in their coffers to buy stuff that we produce here in the US, once they only need it to buy stuff that we produce here in the US, our dollar will be so devalued that, you'll look at your bank account, and even if you have millions of dollars, it won't be anything close to what $1 million can buy you today. Our dollar is going to get greatly devalued because people are realizing, not people, but countries are realizing that they don't necessarily have to use the dollar in order to trade with other countries. That's right. That's right, Nancy. It did start with Woodrow Wilson. He is another person that betrayed his nation. And the funny thing is that on his deathbed, I forgot the quote. All right. I forgot the quote that Woodrow Wilson said, but I'll paraphrase it. And he says something like, one of my biggest regrets in life is that I betrayed the American people. And he knew exactly that he betrayed the American people by signing into law the Federal Reserve Act, which allowed the Federal Reserve to be the owner of the currency that we use here in the United States to this date. You see, before the Federal Reserve, every central bank that ever existed in the United States, I think it was two prior to the Federal Reserve, they existed on charters, which means that they said, okay, you can run the money of the country from this year to this year. And then after that charter was over, then that's it. They were done. They were done. We went back to treasury money, using treasury money. And I think it was Andrew Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was Andrew Jackson who did not sign the last charter. I think it was the Bank of America, or the National Bank of America, or something like that was our last central bank before the Federal Reserve. I think it was like the National Bank of America. I forget the name. But he did not renew their charter, and they tried to assassinate him for that, right? And then between him not renewing their charter and 1913, Woodrow Wilson went ahead and betrayed his people. And you know what? We need to know these things. We need to know that Woodrow Wilson betrayed his people. That way they are not admired. That way they are not admired for being a president. We should not be looking up to these people, just because we're taught lies about them. We shouldn't be looking up. And you know what? I'll bring this up and then I'll close it because we're getting long. I do have to end it a little early today. Many people don't know that Lincoln, who is, admired as like the greatest president, right? Because he freed the black people from slavery. Many people don't know that he did that as a political ploy, right? He did that. He used that as a political ploy. When the Civil War first started, it wasn't about slavery, right? It was about secession, right? It was a war of secession at first. Lincoln turned it into a civil war about slavery because it worked to his advantage. So here people sit around saying, yes, Lincoln was the greatest president. He freed the slaves. No, he only did that because it benefited him at the time. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, if it hadn't, he wouldn't have done it. I'm not saying that I'm not glad that he did. I mean, we would have eventually. Eventually, it would have come to an end. But that's another thing, another point. Everyone looks at Lincoln like he is this great president, but they don't talk about how he suspended habeas corpus and how he imprisoned a whole bunch of journalists because he didn't like that they were writing stories that didn't put him in the favor. You know, they don't talk about how he imprisoned a whole bunch of congressmen and senators because they were not on his side. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about, you know, the 300 or so, it was more than 300, you know, 300 or so Indians, you know, that got massacred, you know, and then he put out that it was only 30, but it was really 10 times more. They don't talk about all of these things, ladies and gentlemen, because they want to rewrite history so that we can stay asleep, so that they can manipulate, you know, our thoughts and have it their way. And I don't know if we'll ever wake up fully as a humanity, but I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, listen, thank you very much. I know I'm cutting it short today, but I really do have to go do some stuff today. I actually had a really good time yesterday. We went to the farmer's market. We went to REI, and I actually shot a small video, a short video about the farmer's market and REI, and I'm going to put that up. That way you can all see what the farmer's market looks like here in Fairbanks. All right, so I'll work on that and try to put it up sometime this week. I'm not sure, maybe tomorrow, the day after, but sometime this week. Other than that, hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I didn't mean to get a little dark during this live stream, but I think that the things that I was talking about, I think that they need to be said and they need to be talked about more often on a personal level. Not with, you know, of course, with your friends, but with your children as well. That way we can stop sending our children to war so that they can die for nasty politicians, for the military-industrial complex, and for the banks. We have to stop doing this because it's not worth it. Having said that, I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Be safe, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful day out. I hope that it's a beautiful day out where you're at. All right, but be safe. Don't do anything crazy, okay? Be safe. Have a great time. Spend some quality time with your families. And we will see you all next Friday, okay? Yeah, next Friday. We will see you all next Friday. Until then, remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.